This next movie I'm about to talk about was a movie I was actually semi-excited to see last year. It was one of the big Oscar play movies starring a leading man that I've always liked and I've never found has quite gotten the leading role that he is deserving of in, I should say, the prestige drama movies. I think he's a very talented actor, but the projects he picks always just fall short. And it's usually not because of him or his fault. It's the quality of movie. And in this case, it's kind of the same thing. I'm talking, of course, about one of my favorite guys, Hugh Jackman, in the movie The Son. The Son also co-stars Zen McGrath, Vanessa Kirby, Laura Dern, Anthony Hopkins. Florian Zeller directs The Son. This is his follow-up to the film The Father, which I think you would call The Son kind of a spiritual successor to The Father, but it's not like these characters are the same. The Son follows Peter Miller, played by Hugh Jackman, who is a successful lawyer and absentee father whose life is turned upside down when his ex-wife, Kate, played by Laura Dern, arrives at his doorstep and tells him that their son is depressed. Guilty of his negligence, Peter agrees to let his son move in with his new wife, played by Vanessa Kirby, and his infant son. And going into this movie, I didn't watch this again until May. This movie ends up releasing wide beginning of January. This premiered at, I want to say it was Venice last year, September of 2022. Instantly, this movie gets critically reviled. It gets just destroyed by the critics there. And it becomes clear that The Son, which many believe could be maybe even Hugh Jackman's win for Best Actor, an award that he's been nominated a few times for, maybe just once. He's nominated for sure for Les Mis. And I know he's had a few failed botches trying to get nominated. Yeah, I guess he's only been nominated the one time for Les Mis. But many people thought that maybe this was going to be Hugh Jackman's best chance at winning a Best Actor Oscar. And then this film gets critically reviled. It becomes very clear that this is not going to win anything. And it just falls off the face of the earth. And it's not discussed any further in the Oscars race/campaign. And that's kind of the reason I didn't end up going to see this movie. Because when I was trying to wrap up my list for 2022, figure out my best, my worst, try to see as many movies as I can, The Son was a harder movie to see, and I just knew it wasn't going to be anything for me. The premise of the movie alone didn't particularly interest me. The only thing that interested me was seeing these actors. And that's why I waited. And then I decided, I think it's available to, I think it's Amazon Prime is where you can stream it right now. And I just decided, let's just go in. Let's see what all the hubbub/controversy of this movie is about. And I definitely have some thoughts on this movie, but I do want to say this movie is not without merit. The performance from Hugh Jackman is actually really strong. I think it's a very strong performance, actually, that almost saves the movie. He's very charismatic, but you also feel some of the emptiness, the sadness. He's just a very emotional actor where you can really feel like when he's angry, you feel his anger. When he's sad, you feel it. Like it's not done in a stagey way, because one of the biggest issues with The Son is Florian Zeller is a very stagey director where it feels very theatrical. He fits within the language of Zeller's filmmaking and allows it to feel cinematic and not stagey. And that's where Hugh Jackman really shines, where he's able to make something like a play, this kind of sing lyrics to it, not literal singing in it, but just something that has that kind of feel, and bring it down to earth and focuses this movie in its humanity. And he's really talented at that, and he's really able to succeed as an actor in this. As is Vanessa Kirby, who plays his new wife. She's really strong. She actually might be the best performance in the movie. Her character is so needed because it adds a lot of nuance to the family dynamic. The fact that the son, played by, Zen McGrath, has this weird relationship with her because he sees her as the woman that broke up his parents' marriage. It really adds an emotional complexity to this movie. And that really works to the film's benefits. The moments that are best are when it focuses on Hugh Jackman and Vanessa Kirby and that aspect of the family dynamic. But where the film does not work, and I really don't like criticizing a younger actor, but it is Zen McGrath who plays Nicholas, and he plays it to varying degrees of success. I heard some people call him a terrible performer in this movie. I will not go anywhere near as far. He has some really good scenes in this movie. It's also followed by a lot of just scenes that drag. He at times feels very stagey. He is very loud as an actor. He is very expressive, and he can also just plays flat. He reads flat in this role. And that really hurts the film when you're trying to get this emotionally complex thing and he's just spouting out lines of like cliched depression ideas or how people understand depression. And that makes the film feel emotionally manipulative to an utmost degree. And it's very obnoxious and it's very just something. I don't want to spoil this ending, but this ending is something and it's not something good. It's very stagey. This whole movie is actually very stagey. From the writing, it's no one talks like this. No one just in a movie talks like this. And especially the kid, he doesn't feel like a teenage kid. It's just all so theatrical. And while some actors like Hugh Jackman and Vanessa Kirby are able to counterbalance this, someone as inexperienced as Zen McGrath is not able to do it. And the direction is just poorly conceived. I mean, it is just the case of Florian Zeller struggles to film something non-theatrical. I think this guy has a theatrical background, and thus it feels very staged. Everything feels very plotted out. There's that plotted out feeling of the movie doesn't make it feel natural, which when you're trying to see the natural struggles of a family, the burdens, the pain that is placed on them, this realness and depression, the stagey elements make this feel like a Lifetime movie. I can't say that The Son is a complete failure, but it is at the very least incompetently made. And when you're a movie about depression and suicidal tendencies and you're incompetently made, it makes the film feel far more offensive and maybe even slightly dangerous. And that's why The Son is a failure overall. I think there is a valiant effort trying to be made, and I think there could have been a good story in this. It's just the case of the sum of the pieces never came together, and it didn't make for anything meaningful. I can't, again, say that I hated this film. There are some scenes that did affect me emotionally, but it is because of the emotional manipulation of the scenes, not because it's a natural reaction from me. I don't know. I had some very mixed feelings watching this movie. Not as bad as some people have said. Nowhere near as good as it should be for the subject material. It's a big no from me. It's a 2-star generously. It is a 2-star movie largely due to the effort of the actors, but it doesn't go anywhere that it should.